Hello, welcome or welcome back. Today's movement lesson we will turn into a little movement meditation, and we will be sitting, so please come to sit. And I suggest you sit a little bit higher with your pelvis than with your knees, so your upper thighs are sloped or dropping down a little bit towards your knees. And relax. Relax, relax, relax. How do we relax? Just sit upright with your feet on the floor and feel your feet. Feel your toes, 5 toes, and every toe has a base joint, a metatarsal pad, a ball of the big toe, a ball of the small toe, and just feel that ball where your foot is pressing down on the floor, where the weight is on the floor. Maybe each toe is touching the floor, but maybe not each one of them. Some might be flying, some might touch down more, and feel that. And also feel your heel. Feel your heel, how your heel. Let's choose the left foot. We need to choose one. Let's choose the left foot first. So feel your left foot standing. And then feel yourself, the ability to feel yourself sitting. You sit, you balance your head, balance, so it's not dropping forwards and not dropping backwards, and the head is not rolling to either side. It's like a basketball balanced on the tip of a finger. The head is balanced on the top of your spine, and maybe draw up your shoulders and then let your shoulders sink, or one shoulder first and the other one. Draw it up, let it sink down, and just sit. Sit quietly for a minute. And then as a first movement, we need to prepare the first position. So please draw your left foot a little bit closer towards you, underneath your pelvis, but just a little bit. Not as much as your left heel should still touch the floor. So just draw your left foot in a little bit so that your left heel is still easily standing well on the floor. So that's going to be our starting position for our first movement. And the first movement is to just lift your left heel up a little bit. Just lift your left heel a little bit, just maybe half an inch, and feel how you do that and what is happening in the foot, what is going on in the foot. And you could look, but you could also just as well just feel when your heel, that always rhymes, when your heel, feel when your heel is lifted, or when you lift up the heel and you bring more pressure. Let's do it like this. The weight of the heel, the weight of your leg is dropping onto your toes, and keep your toes on the floor, keep your toes firmly on the floor. So there's a movement in the base joints of your toes. So the balls of your toes are pressed more against the floor the higher you lift your heel. Can you feel? Can you feel your heel lifting off? So there's no pressure on the heel anymore, but more on the balls, on the metatarsal pads of your toes and on the toes. So it's a movement of the base joints of your toes, and we will need this in the next lesson in this series. But the next lessons are going to be challenging, and today's lesson is not. Today's lesson is just a little movement meditation. And continue lifting your heel and to feel. Now, let us change the way we do this movement a little bit. So instead of lifting your heel and pressing down onto your toes, think of lifting your knee and maybe help with your hands. So reach with your hands underneath your upper leg, your thigh, and maybe interlace your hands underneath, behind your knee, and help to lift your left knee. Help with your whole body to lift your left knee, but don't lift off your whole foot. Keep your toes on the floor. So let's focus on this first move, the beginning of the movement, when you start to lift your knee, and thus, as a consequence, your left heel lifts off the floor, and thus we have a little movement in the base joint, the same movement. The toes, all toes bend, and keep your toes and the base joints on the floor. And it's a very similar movement, but instead of putting pressure on the toes, the pressure is taken off. The weight is lifted off, floating away, up into the buttocks. Where else could it go? Or into your right foot. Where does the weight go when you take it off the left foot? And then compare these two techniques. Let go of your knee, let go of your left leg, and compare how it is to lift your heel, to put more pressure onto your toes, and how it is to lift your knee, to take away pressure on your toes. And all the while it's the same movement for the base joints of your toes. Now, it's time for a little rest in sitting. Just sit, breathe, balance your head, relax your jaw. Maybe draw up your shoulders, let your shoulders sink. Just sit and feel how your left foot is standing. And then lift the toes of your left foot. Lift the toes a little bit. So again, this is a movement in the base joints of the toes, but instead of lifting the heel, we lift the toes. Let's just see how that works. How is it to lift the toes? Can you lift all of them, or is one toe, the pinky toe, sticking to the floor? Okay, and then the next movement. The next movement, please listen. The next movement is to bring the weight not on the toes, but on the left side, on the outside edge of the left foot. So you shift the weight of your left leg onto the outside edge of your left foot, and you can move your left knee to the left in order to achieve that, to bring more weight to the outside edge of your left foot. And again, please try to keep the toes on the floor. So what we have to do to move the weight onto the left side of your foot, and also to the inside edge. Also move the weight to the inside edge of your foot, so that you're standing more on the inside edge. And again, please try to keep the toes close to the floor. And then move the weight to the left, to the outside edge of your left foot, and to the inside edge of the left foot. So you can do this by moving your left knee to the left and to the right. How easy is that? And let's make this a bit more challenging, a reorganization. We want to improve function. So do the same movement but without the knee. Keep the knee still. Keep the knee where it is. You sit and you keep the knee where it is and you lean your left foot on the outside edge and on the inside edge. And to do this, to make this happen, you need to use your ankle. You need to tilt your foot. You need to use your, how do you do this? So you can use the knee to find the movement, or now don't use the knee anymore. The knee not to the left and to the right, but just the left foot, lean it on the inside edge and on the outside edge. And find this movement. And if this movement is easy for you, find more details. Become more aware of the pockets. Where do you go? How does the little bones in your left foot, how do they move against each other? How does the metatarsal bones inside your foot, how do they twist? How do they rotate? How does everything shift? How does your big toe come closer to your heel or further away? And feel the details, what is happening in your foot to make this movement possible. Until you have a good feeling with this movement, a good understanding, a feeling of like, wow, this is working quite nicely actually. And now I can tilt it with the knee or without the knee, no big deal. And then take a rest again and just sit. And balance your head and rest your shoulders. Let your shoulders hang from your neck like an umbrella over your chest. And then again, bring your left foot a little bit closer underneath your pelvis, but not too close. Just a little bit closer. And start to lift your left heel again. So let the left heel come up. And you could lift your knee, or you can just put more pressure on your toes. Or you can have a mix of both techniques. And now lift your heel to bring more weight onto your big toe. So you're lifting your heel and the weight of your left leg is coming onto your big toe. All the way, so the left heel lifts and the weight is more on the inside edge, all on the big toe. And down again, yes? And let's try the small toe, the pinky toe. Lift your heel so that all the weight comes onto your small toe. So it's a little bit a different trajectory. So it's going into a little bit different direction. The small toe when you lift your heel, or to the big toe when you lift your heel. And in between the big toe and the small toe, there's 3 more toes. So also try these trajectories. So every time you lift your left heel, bring the weight onto the second toe or the 4th toe or the 3rd toe. Can you even feel the difference in the toes? Which is the 4th toe? Which is the 3rd toe? And slowly, slowly, slowly lift and lower, not the leg, but the heel. Lift and lower the left heel. And notice, feel, sense. When you lift your heel towards your big toe, there might be some resistance from the structure, from the big toe. It might not bend so easily as the other toes, or maybe there's a little bit of pain or discomfort. And likewise, the other toes, like the 3rd toe or the 2nd toe, it might be just a tad bit easier to shift your weight to lift the heel in that direction, or in between the spot between your 2nd toe and the big toe. Just try to sense that when you go slowly enough, when you lift your heel slowly enough into specific directions, you can feel there's more or less resistance or more or less comfort. And you might even want to try to roll, to shift, to lift your heel towards the right side of your left big toe, so on the outside edge. So you would roll over your base joint of the big toe. And maybe that's as easy as it is to roll towards your second toe. So maybe that's a way to go around the big toe. But then there's no toe anymore to catch the weight of the heel. And so all the weight is just ending up in this base joint. And give it enough time and enough repetitions, maybe the anatomy, how your foot looks like, will change if you always take the easy path on the outside edge. So see, feel, sense, how is it to bring your weight over your small toe, the fourth, 32nd toe, to lift your heel and shift your weight onto the big toe, but a little bit to the left of the big toe or a little bit of the right of the big toe, and see, oh, there's so many possibilities, and some feel easier than others. And give it enough time and repetition and enough care, and go slowly enough and really carefully enough, and maybe all the directions will feel just as easy as any other. All right, and then take a break again. We're moving swiftly, step by step, and very systematically. So we had up and down, left and right. What is there left to do? Of course, we're going to do some circles. We're going to combine left and right and forwards and backwards. So again, start to lift your left heel towards your big toe, and then shift the weight over the second, third, fourth to the pinky toe, to the small toe, and then lower your heel again. Lift your heel towards the big toe, then cross over all four toes to the small toe and lower your heel again. And keep your knee in place. Don't move your knee, but make this a movement of your ankle and of your foot. And of course we can do clockwise circles or counterclockwise circles. Big circles and small circles. Fast circles or slow circles. And paint those pockets when you go from the big toe. So the thing is, the reason why we do this so slowly is because we need to prepare the foot for the next lesson. And the next lesson will not work if there's a pain in the foot, and we use this meditation to relieve the foot. If the base joint of the big toe is in a bad condition and hurting, and maybe it's the big toe is pointing and not forwards but to the left, and the bunion is not where it was when it was born, but it's all the way to the right on a journey to Italy. It's so we use this lesson to go very slowly and to invite the foot to feel good again and to move, to flex. And it needs to flex, it needs to move. And maybe when we are wearing shoes, of course, to protect ourselves, maybe the sole of the toe cannot bend when we walk, and it's always like in this stiff position. But now we invite it very gently, like a gentle reminder. You can bend with the heel, or when we lift the toe. All right, so where does it go? Where does it not go? Which toe? And then take a rest again. Just sit. And you might have discovered something funny. When you lift your left heel, and you roll over forwards, maybe you felt like a little shake. Did you feel it? A little shaking of the leg, a little jerking of the leg when you go over a certain spot. That's a reflex. Do you know this one, when there's this little shaking of the knee? It's a little bit like a plantar reflex or a Babinski sign, or maybe even reminiscent of the stepping reflex. A deep tendon reflex. When you poke a tendon, the muscle will, medically speaking, poke a tendon, tap a tendon, and the muscle will contract. And there's something here, there's something happening here. So maybe you have seen that before, and maybe you have done this before when you were a teenager, and probably there was some other person who told you not to do this, not to shake your leg like this. Did you have this in your life, or did you tell somebody not to shake their leg because it's annoying when they shake their leg, but they couldn't help it because it's a reflex? And I have not found a name for this, or no better name, so let's just call it the don't do that reflex, this shaking of the leg. And now please do that. We try to restore this reflex, recover this little shaking, and you will feel when you roll up, when you lift your heel, at some point, at some moment, it will start to do a little shake. And you can imagine how useful this little shake is. When you take a step, when you walk, you roll over your toe, and then there's this little push, this little last push, which makes your step a light step, a swing step. It's just like you walk and there's a push, and you walk and there's a push, and this push is well integrated. It comes at the exactly right moment when you roll over your toe. So we try to recover that for improving the ability to walk with ease and lightness. Maybe this don't do that. This one don't do that. Maybe this makes the difference between a child that grew up to walk and to run fast and with ease, and a child that developed problems later with walking. Now as a grown-up, maybe walking feels burdensome, like walk, one step is heavy, and there's no push, there's no flow. So without further ado, let's stop this and just sit and relax and feel your left foot, and just feel how you're on your left foot. There's a lot of talking for a meditation, isn't it? And feel the difference between your left foot and your right foot. Let's have a look in standing. So please come up to stand. And feel how it is in standing, how you feel. Oh, maybe if you look down onto your foot, maybe the left foot has a different color than the right one. Maybe the left one looks a bit more alive, a bit more tended to than the right one. Doesn't it? Different color. And then shift your weight onto your right leg so you can free up your left and lift your left heel a little bit, so as to do the same thing as we did in sitting. Find a good position for your left foot so you can lift your left heel. Lift your left heel to bend your toes. And in which direction do you bend? So play with the things we did in sitting to bring more weight onto the inside edge of your left foot or to the outside edge, and roll over one toe or the other. You do circles with the toes, and maybe you can find this little shaking movement. This, like, it shakes on its own when you find the right spot. This little don't do that reflex. Yes, and then also take yourself back. We're still in our meditation. Balance your head again. Let your shoulders hang down from your neck. And then shift your weight onto your right leg and lift your left heel a bit. And see if you can take a little step forwards. Just let your left leg swing forwards and then slowly shift weight onto your left leg. And so this would be a little step. Swing from one leg to the other. Wow. So there might be a big difference between your left foot and your right foot. So take a few steps, feel your left foot, feel your right foot, feel the difference between the feet, how you roll over your left foot, how you suddenly have possibilities. You can roll over your second toe, your third toe, or your fourth toe, or in between the big toe and the second toe. You could stop or pause the video and work with your right foot. Do the meditation again with your right foot from memory, from what you remember, the whole sequence, step by step. And maybe the most difficult thing is to not rush through it, but to really take your time for each exploration. Or you could jump back to the start of the video and do the same thing with your right leg. Until you remember all the movements well and you made all the movements your own, you have a good understanding of the movements, and you have this question, okay, I mastered that, I'm pretty good at that. So what's the next step? What's the next lesson? And for that, I want to say you, it was my pleasure to have you today, to lead you through this movement sequence. And there's a next video in this series. And thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.